We've worked with over 3,000 startups over the years, and they have delivered beyond that, creating tons of jobs for the province of BC and beyond, raising lots of capital, and overall a really great economic impact. So not to say New Ventures BC is the 100% factor of this, but we are always happy to say we were hopefully a useful part of their startup journey at a very pivotal point of their journey. But I always like to say the competition, it's always more than just trying to be a top winner. I myself, if you do know me, and I did say lots of familiar faces, I'm a pretty pragmatic person. So one thing I always say to companies when they ask, they say, well, do you think I can win? And I say, well, you could. There's $250,000 in cash and prizes, and that's kind of the carrot that gets a lot of you in. However, I always say we have 180, 200 companies that enter each year. We have about 6 prizes, right? So definitely you can win. We have winners every year for sure. But our hope is that the way we've designed this competition, it is long. If you get to the end, it's about 6 months. Hopefully you're getting some benefit, whether you win or not. So that could be through any of the different aspects of the program. We have education, we have networking opportunities, we have mentorship, we have a lot of feedback. And for those that advance a little further down the competition, there's also a lot of good opportunities for recognition, both from a PR standpoint and also from a company building standpoint. So sometimes companies will enter the competition because they want to hire and they want to have some extra credibility when they're looking for really good talent, that type of thing, or of course investment as well. So our hope is that we've created a competition and experience that is going to give you some great tools, some great networks, and some great resources to help you build a better, successful startup, hopefully in the province of British Columbia. In addition to the competition, which we do every single year, we do also have a few different programs, so definitely check out our website if anything else is of interest, newventuresbc.com. Right now we have a program called Accelerate IP, which is around supporting companies with their IP strategy. And we also have a few different accelerator programs around companies from anywhere from ideation stage to seed stage to help both with ideation, market validation, also sales and marketing. And those programs kind of roll out throughout the year, and you can certainly do them in parallel with the competition or before or after. So let's jump into things. So this is a picture from our awards ceremony. This is where it always ends. Nice, full, awesome room, smiling faces, good time. So how do we get there? First, just some basic eligibility. We have a few more, but these are kind of the core ones. You have to be a BC-based startup with the majority of activity in BC. So that's not to say your revenues have to be in BC. It's more that you're building a company in BC. Privately held, for profit, and we say not incorporated more than 5 years. So you don't have to be incorporated as well, but if you are, we want to make sure we're firmly in the startup range. So that's why we kind of have a general 5-year line. Often we'll have companies reach out to us and say, hey, I've been incorporated 8 years, but we just pivoted to a totally new product, to a totally new business model in the last 2 years. We will certainly make those exceptions in those situations. So if you're not sure if you're eligible, feel free to reach out to us afterwards. Third main eligibility criteria is you raise less than $1 million of non-grant funding as of the competition deadline, which is April 11th this year. So you don't have to have raised any money, but we just don't want you having raised too much money because, again, we want this to be a competition for startups. And finally, there is a $200 entry fee to enter the competition, and that's for the entire company and for every single program offering we offer. So a little deeper into how we get in the competition. So you have an idea of how it goes. So right now we're recruiting for round 1. That is our broadest field of entrance. So that's between now and April 11th. You're really just completing an online form, which will ask you some basic information about your company. a reasonable number of demographic questions, which, full disclosure, we use for internal reporting purposes for our program funders. And then we will also have a numerous amount of education and networking opportunities. First one being tomorrow, so I'll let you know about that a little bit later. Beyond that, we start round 2 afterwards, and that is a 5-page submission. So you have until, I believe it's mid-May, I believe, but that we'll add the dates soon, for you to submit a 5-page plan, and that gets reviewed by 5 to 6 judges, and they score you on a bit of a rubric. So that happens, and while the judging is happening, we also have access to, again, additional seminars and networking opportunities. By the end of May, early June, we've then cut the field based on your 5-pagers, down from about, like I said, 180-ish to 200 to 40. So the top 15 companies of those 40 companies, they advance to round 3, which happens over the summer. And then we have another 25 companies that will pitch their way into round 3. And they'll get pitch support to do that. So that's kind of all happening in the next few months, May to June. If you get to the top 25, this, I would say, is probably when you get some pretty good exposure, credibility from the startup community standpoint. A lot of people kind of wait for us to publish that list. But then you're into more work. So part of round 3 is completing an 8-page document. You also have the opportunity to work with mentors as well to help you through that. That 8-page document gets reviewed by another jury, and they review all 25 of the plans. And then from how that is scored, we come up with our top 10, which gets narrowed down at the end of August, early September. Those top 10 companies then pitch to a jury. We also will do something, last year we introduced something like a demo day to give the top 10 an opportunity to meet with some additional investors and community members. And then we find out who the winners are at the end of September, early October. I believe it's going to be October 2nd this year. So if you enter through the entire competition, it's about a 6-month process. But again, we try to make sure there's some benefit and opportunity for you no matter which round you go through. So just to dig a little bit deeper into some of these elements, like I said, a big component is education and networking. So starting tomorrow, we will have our kickoff networking event. You are, of course, all welcome to join us if you haven't already registered. We have a few spots remaining still. And we'll also be adding on a panel with a few of the winners from last year. So they'll be speaking about their experience of the competition and what they've been up to since as well. And then also April 13th is our annual full day education. This is where we bring in some really great speakers to talk about different parts of building a successful startup. So you have the option to attend this in person in Vancouver or via web stream. But definitely I always find it's a really great day, good opportunity to delve into a few different topics, meet different speakers, and also network with fellow founders. And we'll soon be announcing a series of online webinar topics, which will take us through most of the spring into June as well. And the education topics are open to not just the competitors. So if you enter the competition, if you're not necessarily entering the competition, you can still access all our education and our networking events anytime you like. So feel free to join us whether you enter the competition or not. From the mentorship perspective in the competition, just to give you an idea of where that fits in, typically if you go in through round 2 and you don't advance past round 2, you do have the opportunity to take a 45-minute session with a mentor to kind of go through your application, get a sense of maybe what the feedback you got could have meant, and just have a new person to meet and bounce some ideas off of and get some feedback. If you get into the top 40, you will have the option to do some pitch coaching to get ready for you to pitch your way into the next round of the competition. And of course, you'll also pitch to a panel of jury members as well, who you'll have access to meet as well. And often, post pitch, there's lots of good conversations that happen from there. If you advance to our top 25, you also have, you're actually given a team of 2 to 3 different mentors that can support you throughout the entire round 3 and round 4 if you advance to that. And we also give you the opportunity to join what we call a mentor panel. It's basically, I say, a kind of a friendly, no stakes dragon's den. So you come on in, you give a pitch. Typically it's a pitch, but you can really test out any type of presentation you like. Sometimes people will do sales presentations, other times people will do partnership presentations. And the idea is really to get some constructive feedback from people within the community that are here to help. In terms of who our mentors are, we have a great list of fantastic mentors that return year over year to support startups. Typically, as in terms of how we recruit, we're looking for either entrepreneurs who have started companies before and either exited and or raised money for them, corporate finance background people, or those with what we call deep domain experience. So, strong sales and marketing background, for example, primarily within a tech company. And I think I mentioned Floyd earlier, so this is kind of partly where Floyd comes in. His role is to match our companies with mentors that hopefully line up with your sector, your background, and what you're looking for. Prizes. So this is the current plan for the prizes this year. There's always a chance they can change, but for the most part, it's, again, like I said, $250,000 and non-dilutive cash and prizes. The top 3 prizes are sponsored by our program title sponsor, Innovate BC, Provincial Crown Corp for the BC tech ecosystem. And we have a top SaaS company prize provided by the National Bank of Canada, and then some sector-specific prizes for those in the sustainability sectors, for those located outside of Metro Vancouver, in regional areas, and also a woman-led founder prize. And on that prize last year, I think we had 5 women executives in our top 10. It was a very difficult decision to make. In terms of common questions I get, I'll just run through them now, just preemptively. In terms of registration, process questions. So the first step is to just complete the online form by the deadline, April 11th. I generally tell people the first round is an eligibility check. So if you meet our eligibility criteria, you're in. So it's not a super complicated bar to pass. And as a result, I always say, don't spend too much time on the online form. Get in your basic info. If we have follow-up questions, we will get in touch with you. We're not just going to, take your $200 and say, oh, sorry, you're not eligible. See you later. We will always get in touch with you, get any clarifying questions in, and walk you through that process. But I always say, don't spend too much time on that form. Save your time, save your energy for round 2, which is the 5-pager, and that gets judged by 5 to 6 people, and that's when the stakes rise. In terms of stage of venture that enter the competition, it does vary, I would say. I think the majority of ventures that enter are still pre-revenue, but we do certainly have companies that have revenue, have a product in market. Really depends on the sector. We also are multiple different sectors. So, in most cases, for example, a software company might be in market more earlier than a life science company, right? So, we don't like to say a particular stage makes a difference. It really depends on the sector you're in. Generally, though, a well-developed idea always helps. If you're really early stage, a lot of people will go through the questions to help them develop their idea, but typically, having a good solid idea of your idea and your market does certainly help. In terms of why enter, should you enter this year? Again, personal answer there, and I'll probably ask a question like this to Kaylee momentarily. But typically, like I said, people enter, of course, for the prizes. A lot of people enter for the mentorship, for the process, to go through the questions. I would, maybe think about why you want to enter, and we're always happy to chat with you to figure out if it makes sense for you. But for the most part, if you're early stage company, you're working through a lot of similar issues a lot of the other founders are, I always encourage companies to enter because it's a great way to kind of jump into the community, get to know a lot of the other people within here, and soak it all up. That said, though, I do always say what you put in is also what you get out. So in terms of how much work this will be, it can vary. So some companies will attend all the workshops, then they'll follow up with all the speakers, and they'll take that time because it's important to them. Others will have perhaps already been in, say, fundraising rounds or been pitching. So maybe some of the questions we ask in the submissions, you might already have the answers to. So it might be maybe a little bit less work for you. But for the most part, I do like to say, it can be a lot of work if you commit into the process. But our hope is we're not wasting your time. Our hope is you need to figure out the answers to these questions to build a successful company. We're just kind of prodding you along. So that's always the hope. It should be work that you need to do at some point for your company anyway. And finally, in terms of what makes a winning venture, I think again, it varies, of course. So generally, though, coachability is of the CEO and founder is always a plus. Having a very clear solution to a very big existing problem, of course, is always a good one. And having a really good understanding of your market size, it being a big market with therefore a big opportunity for a big economic impact, or is also a good success indicator. Okay, I kind of just ran through those super quickly. But like I said, you get to the end, you get a big check, you got a trophy, you got a picture. But that's for the first prize winner, but we have, like I said, multiple prizes, and we have certainly tons of great past alumni companies. They didn't necessarily win, but they still did really well. And, of course, still super grateful to have them as part of the community. So I've listed just a few, not that you need to read them all, of course, but listed a few just to jog a few memories. And for those who have attended the competition in a while, and I would say the prize winners' success really varies, right? Angie, they won this competition back in 2000, still around, 100 and so employees, good revenue. And, I'd say it's a great BC success story. But then you also have other companies. I think I have here Aspect Biosystems. So I think last year they signed a $3 billion deal with a stem cell company out of Europe, doing some really interesting technology. So totally different type of sector, totally different type of success story. Another one, let's see here. Jane Software. So a lot of people, if you've made an appointment with RMT, with the chiropractor, you've often most likely used Jane Software. A really, really interesting and well-run company in BC, great success story as well. And I think my favorite story is when I had a past employee call me for a reference. It was to work at a company on this list. And they used the reference check was done using Certain, which is another past prize winner. So I was giving a reference for a company to work at a past New Ventures winner using the tech of another New Ventures VC winner. So, definitely throughout the 20 years, you get to see and interact with the companies in many different ways. And then, of course, other success factors is, of course, if you've raised money. And I've invited one of our past winners from last year, Kaylee from Blanka, to speak about her competition experience. I'm sure she's got lots of updates as well, but I know last summer Blanka raised a $2 million USD seed fund and has been growing the company ever since. So here's Kaylee. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment just so I can see Kaylee. Ask her to put on her camera. She's here. There she is.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So just to give some background, of course, So Kaylee is the CEO and founder of Blanka, who was in the competition top three last year. But I think we actually met when you did our sales accelerator program year before
Yeah,
that.
yeah, with
Yeah,
Peter and Rochelle, and I think
yeah.
Peter's on the call.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. And did you enter the competition twice or was it just the one time?
Yeah, I did. That was something
Okay.
I was going to share. So we
Oh,
entered it in 2022.
yeah.
And I don't even think we didn't even get past like the second round. So for all you out there who are going on to maybe your second or maybe this is your first, like, yeah, definitely I don't be discouraged. Also, another thing to note is like we last year when we went through the competition, between rounds 2 and 3, we didn't even make it into the top 15. We actually had to pitch to secure our spot in that last 10 that were going on in the batch of 25. So like it's kind of like it's a roller coaster, right? And I think it's like, you exactly what you said, you get out what you put in.
Yeah, I've forgotten that you had to pitch your way in last year too. So yeah, you've done all the rounds. And
I'm
I guess
better at pitching than writing. So I was like,
yeah.
oh, I can do this.
Nice. And then I guess, yeah, just in terms of general questions for you is, I guess, why did you decide to enter twice?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I don't think there's any question the impact that this competition has on the companies in our ecosystem. It's not just about getting the exposure in the BC ecosystem, but there's so much more beyond that, that New Ventures BC, having been around for so long, has kind of built up that credibility. And I loved the idea of really being a part of that. At the time, we were raising our seed round, and I was trying to do everything to get our name out there. I was like pitching at every live pitch in BC, and I was applying for all the awards. Like we were just trying to do everything. And New Ventures BC was like at the top of the list just because of so many of the other amazing companies that had gone through the competition before.
Okay, great. And then I guess what were some of your takeaways from your experience? And, welcome for you to give both great experiences and lessons learned. And certainly it doesn't have to all be rainbows and unicorns, of course. Share, give your full experience if you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, and I think, you have to go in recognizing that. Um, but it's so worth it. Like the 5 page and then subsequently like the 8 page document that you end up writing, like if you write it well and write it true to your business, it ends up being something that you can use for, future grants or awards. I've used it for onboarding certain employees to give them like a really deep picture into how I look at the business. So it's something that can be used again. It's not just like this one-time document. I think another kind of pro about this is just, first of all, the mentors. We had a really great mentor through the program, and Richard was, he'd been involved in New Ventures BC for a while, so he really knew what the judges were looking for, and he coached us on that, and like we listened. And one thing he told me, he's like, I've had years where the companies I'm paired with don't want to chat, don't want any help, and then years where they do. And so like, and we did lean on him and we placed. So I think that speaks to the importance of using your mentors. They really understand like the mechanics of this competition. And so can't emphasize enough, like I would send him my 5 page and 8 pager, and he'd read it in detail and give me comments on a Google Doc. So that's like the level of engagement where he was at. And even like the judges as well, you get feedback after each round, and the feedback from the judges, like sometimes it's harsh, not gonna lie, but it was helpful. And it helped me understand like where some of their objections might be, so that I could, mitigate those objections in subsequent rounds. I don't know why I can't speak today. And then finally, like the other founders have been a huge pro as well. Like Artie at Browse AI is amazing, and he plays second. And we're kind of loosely have had chats about how we might be able to use their tech. And then Corey at Retreats and Ventures, or Retreats and Venues, pardon me. We've gone on like a snowboarding trip in Whistler and become friends purely through the competition. And Julie at Ginger Desk, her and I are now in share an investor. And so we're text all the time. And these are all relationships that started from this competition. And so, like I've said this to other founders before, but like the power of the founder network is so important. That's how I've met so many of my investors, so many potential partners, how I get good advice. And what's great about NVBC's competition is like it's kind of concentrating some of the best founders in the city and in the province together, so you can really figure out like who's at that same stage as you that can help you out. So yeah, I'd say those are like all the pros. I wouldn't say there's really any cons, except like it's time consuming, but it's worth the time because of all the reasons I just listed.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a super detailed answer. And it's great to hear that you've made some good relationships with some of the other founders, because that's always, I'd say, one of the intangible benefits of the competition. And I guess, who do you think should enter the competition? Like any stage, or do you feel there's an ideal time for someone to enter if they're kind of on the fence?
I mean, from other founders that I've spoken to, like the competition's amazing for like pre-seed all the way through seed stage companies. I know a few founders like Alex and Mursa who, gone on to do really well with the competition, and they didn't have a lot of traction in their businesses at the time. For us, we were a little bit further along in traction, so I don't think there's like, a magic number. I think, pre-seed to seed and really understanding your business and having really thought it through is the companies that are going to win. Also, like at the end of the competition, one of the biggest deciding factors of like the kind of top three is like, do the judges see this as like an opportunity that has meaningful scale? And so your idea really needs to be able to go the distance and be a company that's, scalable beyond just a lifestyle business, I would say. And so I think those are the ones that time and time again have had success in the competition.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment of the jury. So I'm glad to hear that it's clear. Good.
Yeah, it's clear.
Anything else you wanna add in terms of the competition?
No, I mean, good luck to everybody. I am so glad we did it last year. And like, I'm really excited to see the amazing companies that come through. Like the exposure we got through the competition and still continue to get because of it has been really meaningful. And so it'll be awesome to see what other new companies are coming out of the woodwork this year.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Kaylee. I will keep you on for a few more minutes. We will do a quick Q&A round next. So if you do have questions directly to Kaylee or about the competition, we will get there. But first, let me finish my deck here. So of course, we have amazing sponsors, many that have been with us for the full 24 years. So I do want to just acknowledge them quickly here. Our title sponsor is Innovate BC. Gold sponsors are EY, Fasken, National Bank of Canada, UBC Sauder School of Business, Silver, Vantech Angel Network, SFU Beauty School, and RBCX. And then we have amazing community sponsors at our bronze and media level, which you can see here as well. So in terms of questions, let's do that. Is there any in the chat we need to address, Claire, or have you already kind of gotten
I
those
think
all?
I have gotten to all of them, but of
Okay.
course, if anyone wants more clarification, please feel free to speak up.
Okay, well then, yeah, we'll just open up in case there are any other questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or just come off mute and put up your hand and ask. Any other questions or clarifications? All right, well, that was easy. Usually we have more. Clearly, I talk too much. Okay, well then, I am then going to just quickly wrap up here. So thank you again, Kaylee, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Appreciate it. For those who want to hear from more past winners, again, I mentioned we have our kickoff event tomorrow downtown in Vancouver. So we'll have 3 additional winners from last year's competition, including Browse AI and Retreats and Venues, who Kaylee mentioned, in addition to the third top 10 company, Veritas Research. So the session will start for the first hour as a panel talking to the companies, and then we'll move into just casual networking with everyone in attendance. So it's usually pretty fun. We always like to invite companies who are thinking about entering but aren't quite sure. So you can come on down, meet parts of the community. Like I said, Floyd, who I introduced at the beginning, he will be there as well. A lot of the mentors and the sponsors that support the competition attend, and lots of companies as well. So in terms of getting started, meeting additional founders and building your network, it's a great way. So please do join us if you are free. Otherwise, yeah, this is kind of our final call to action page. These are QR codes that will link you to registration for all the various events we mentioned. However, you can also just go to our website, of course, newventuresbc.com for all of the info.